Welcome to the Speaking of Math podcast, episode number 39 by Door to Math. This podcast is devoted to all things math education and how parents can be a positive factor in their kids' math learning. Math is the gateway to many professional careers as well as confidence and personal growth. Find more information at www.doortomath2.com. So let's get on with the topic of the day. We have several friends the parents are really good at math, but they really struggle with teaching their kids at home. And I'm thinking to myself, if I know math and if I love math, what could possibly go wrong with me teaching at home? Where does the conflict happen?
That's a really good question. I got asked that a lot in the office. So one day I come up with this analogy. It's a poor way to say what I need to say, but it carries the message. So imagine you're really good chef. You made this gorgeous course meal innovation, and it was right off the stove and it's hot. So you stick a fork in there and you shove it into your kid's mouth, and the kid got burned. So the kid said, "I hate whatever you're cooking." So instead of thinking cooking, imagine that's math. So what I believe the gap, the misperception is knowing math is not the same as teaching math, number one. And number two, I believe that parents, for whatever reason, myself included, just because we have it, we think we genetically pass it through to our kids, through our DNA, but it doesn't happen that way. Learning is actually a discovering journey. It takes a lot of patience, and the fact that we know it shortens our patience, and the fact is our kids shorten our patience even more, and that I think is a bad combination that probably explains a lot of the frustration on parents.
So I'm thinking, if I as a parent, from what I heard, I have a double whammy in front of me. First, I don't really know if I'm a good teacher or just know math, and that's going to stop me. And second thing is I have a relationship outside of math with my son or with my daughter, and that can get it in the way of the teaching. Is that did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, the parents who are good at math having a similar problem, I think most of us can relate. When our kids start to drive, those of us trying to teach the driving would go crazy because we don't know why our kids don't have our driving skill, the good part of our driving skill, right? So same thing when it comes to teaching. But I think at some level, teaching is kids have a little more control because they have the steering wheel in their hands, right? When you sit down doing the homework with your kids, they don't even have that. That's a really unparalleled, unequal level of structure there, right than there. And if the parents who love math but not aware of that power difference is going to really bump into a lot of hard headaches.
Yeah, I remember that. I taught both my kids to drive, and also I taught a foreign exchange student to drive also. And when I was in the car with the foreign exchange student, the feeling was totally different. There was a lot less stress and tension in there just because I was not related to them.
Yeah, I think that relation, on one hand, made us closer because of their parent and child. On the other hand, though, it's the antithesis where we need it when we teach. Teaching happens when the child trusts you and you can match your pace to that child's little leg, right? And for those of us who love our subject and it's our own kids, we forget we have to adjust to their steps.
All right, so let's deconstruct it. What does it take to effectively teach someone if past knowing the subject?
Yeah, I think the mental image I always try to discuss it with the parents who are in my office is, think of this, the knowledge you have, right? It's kind of oasis in the desert. It's oasis, your knowledge. And think of the kid who you're trying to pass this water to is a zebra, like a mile or so, right? You have to walk that zebra all the way to your knowledge. You have to walk together. Now imagine you're trying to yank by a rope, right? You put a rope in front of your zebra and try to yank for the entire mile. One, you get tired, and two, the zebra is really resentful. And by some miracle, you can drag your zebra all the way to the water the kid is not going to do the homework. So whatever effort you put, it's all wasted. It's lose, lose, lose. Everybody lose.
All right, so the first thought that comes to my mind when you said that is, my kid's as stubborn as a mule, and there's no way.
Close enough. Zebra, mule. So the trick then is you must give up the rope, number one. You know roughly where you need to go. That's the oasis, you understanding. You have to turn yourself around. You can't ride a zebra, but you have to walk along with it. If it wants to nibble and chase the rabbits, let it be, right? And then eventually you're going to zigzag your way a mile or two or whatever you have to do to get to the oasis.
So it sounds like a lot of patience and a lot of improvisation.
A lot of patience, a lot of adaptability, and do not get attached to the final results of your kid drinking that water. The whole teaching, the whole learning is about the journey itself.
So what you describe sounds like will be an ideal teacher for my child.
Well, I think at the end of the day, when we sit down working with our kids, we have good intention. We want to feed them. We want to nourish them. They're thirsty. They're crying out for help. So intention is good, but intention and impact is not the same. And the child would never care about your intention. It's always, end of the day, it's the impact that they remember.
And in the end, is it possible to work with your child on math?
I wouldn't recommend it. Below 6th grade, maybe. I think the math is easy enough. Above 6th grade, I think you're gambling. Above 9th grade, you really have to know what you're doing and really weight your intention versus the possible impact that you can have.
All right, let me ask you this. This is what you do for your living. Were you able to work with our kids?
I think what I did is very early on, I know what the basic soft skill that's necessary for academic success is. So I focus a lot of attention on there. And in their middle school, I know there are certain topics they must know as a foundation. By the high school, for our daughter, for sure, I was not even anywhere close. For our son, I hung around a little longer. And the moment I realized that I was not, my intention and my impact are not matching out, I completely backed off.
I remember you were hands off, but it was very difficult for you. You were biting your nails because you knew this was not that hard a topic, but you had to let them struggle on their own for a little while.
I do. It's hard. It's a hormonal thing for teenagers that sometime along the way, the teenagers just think that we as a parent has absolutely no IQ, which I respect. I remember being a difficult teenager when I was growing up. So I think the thing for me that kept my sanity is that to know, number one, what I say is the impact. That's important. There always someone can teach the math. Then there's only one parental relation I can have with the kid. And two, have an exit strategy. Don't get it to the point you have to dig your heel. We big people are just human. Once we get the momentum going, the longer we stay in there, the harder for us to turn around and leave the things on a good term.
Right. To summarize, I'm a parent, and even if I know math, it can be difficult at times to teach our kids math because there's two limitations here. Knowing math is not the same as teaching math, and also the parent-child relationship can get in the way of effective instructions. So if all things being even, what I hear is to err on the side of letting either them learn themselves or find someone else to teach them math.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, on that note, and until next time.
Happy parenting.